What does it feel like to carry 9 children through the snow?
7,000 feet's no joke. Peter just died.
Probably gonna be one of the most difficult things you do.
Take care of your feet, kids.
John Stark is recorded as being buried here, but we don't have his headstone.
Pretty difficult.
Oh, Donner Pass.
In early 1847, a series of relief expeditions went to help the Donner Party that was stranded just a few miles from where I am right now. And the exploits of one of those men have become legendary among the people in this area. We're going to see if we can recreate what he did.
In early 1847, word of the Donner Party's dire situation finally reached settlements in California. A small group of men are hired to rescue the party survivors and bring them to safety. Among these men is John Stark. 30 years old at the time, John Stark had emigrated to California from the Midwest just a few months before the Donner Party. It was felt that Stark's participation was not the wisest idea. The job called for lightweight men moving quickly over the mountain snow, and Stark weighed over 220 pounds. Nevertheless, Stark joins a relief party that also includes William Eddy and William Foster. These men were Donner Party members who had nearly died trying to find help for the rest of the survivors. Now they're going back to save their families, including Eddie's wife and both men's children.
This is not the type of terrain where you want to be walking around by yourself. So for this project, I'm going to be using a teammate. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to call him Steve, because that's his name. Now, Steve's a local boy. He's been roaming these hills hunting deer since he was a kid. More recently, he's been successful hunting in Alaska. He's had to carry hundreds of pounds of caribou meat miles. So we'll see how he does with sandbags. Okay, we have 9 sandbags representing all the survivors. We got to carry them to safety. Steve, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. I guess we just start.
Let's do it.
During
Okay,
the
then.
second relief, a group of survivors had crossed the mountain pass, only to get caught in a severe blizzard. Once the blizzard passes, the relief party continues moving, but 2 families lack the strength to keep going and bed down in the snow. Historians refer to this location as Starved Camp and believe it was located near this spot on the west side of Donner Pass. As family members succumb to exposure, those still living eat the dead, including children, to stay alive. As Stark and the rest of the relief party approach the camp, they see a pit more than 20 feet deep, melted by a campfire. It was immediately apparent how desperate the survivors' condition was. Eddie and Foster can't stay. They push on toward their families on the other side of the pass. An eyewitness later recounted what happened next. Those who were in favor of returning to the settlements and leaving the Breenes for a future relief party, which, under the circumstances, was equivalent to the death penalty, were to answer aye. The question was put to each man by name, and as the names were called, the dreadful aye responded. John Stark's name was the last one called because he had, during the discussion of the question, strongly opposed the proposition for abandonment, and it was naturally supposed that when he found himself in so hopeless a minority, he would surrender. When his name was called, he made no answer until someone said to him, "Stark, won't you vote?" Stark, during all this proceeding of calling the roll, had stood apart from his companions with bowed head and folded arms. When he was thus directly appealed to, he answered quickly and decidedly, "No, gentlemen, I will not abandon these people. I am here on a mission of mercy, and I will not half do the work. You can all go if you want to, but I shall stay by these people while they and I live."
We've been going at it for about 3.5 hours. I think we're just shy of the 1 mile mark. And it's slow going. No matter which combination of kids I pick, it's 4 trips every time. So for every 100 yards, we're basically having to walk about a half a mile. What does it feel like to carry 9 children through the snow? Pretty difficult. Very fatiguing on the arms, the hands. It's definitely taking a little bit longer.
Referring to Stark, an early Donner Party researcher wrote, "It was said that in passing over the mountain snows, he would carry a great part of the provisions and blankets, and sometimes also some of the weaker children. The latter he would take forward a little way in return for others. He would cheer and encourage them and the rest, and would laugh and say they were so wasted and light that he believed if there was room on his back he could carry them all." James Breen later recalled, "I distinctly remember that myself and Jonathan Graves were both carried by Stark on his back the greater part of the journey."
One of the things we're learning is you can't do more than 2 or 3 bags at a time. You're just so unstable. So you really have to lower the weight and just make the trips. There ain't no easy way about it. I think the other thing that's sucking for me, at least, just like John Stark was, I'm a sea level cat. 7,000 feet's no joke.
Hey, for all you snowshoers, let them know, is this how you're supposed to do it? Flat or toes down? Someone please let us know which one's right here.
Oh, so one of the things that we have to deal with that John Stark did not have to deal with is California legal issues. So the actual trail, the actual path that John Stark moved down is actually privately owned right now by a ski corporation, some private entities, and then like a big gas electric company in the area. And we weren't able to get permission from them, so we didn't want to do that. So we came out here to the forest land to work the trail, but it turns out that they don't let people camp overnight here. So we're going to cache our sandbags for the night. We're going to go find a place to stay legally, and then we're going to come back at it first thing in the morning. Oh yeah.
Yep. Nah, you know what though? That was really good.
That's the spot.
Hey,
Yo.
how'd you come up with the weight for all these bags?
Well, so we know the sexes and the approximate age of all the people that came out with John Stark. So I took that, I plotted it. I got the average height and weight for a person of that age, plotted that on a BMI chart. So a healthy BMI is, I don't know, it was like 20 or something. And then you extrapolate that down. I found a Japanese study of anorexia patients that said that basically a BMI below 12 is life-threatening. So extrapolate the BMI down to 12, see what that weight is, and then I took off about 6% because humans have been growing since 1840s. And that's how we got the weight.
You ever had to carry a friend who had too much to drink, you know, into their house or to the front door? That feeling of just dead weight, limp weight, that's what this feels like.
We don't have an objective doing this. There's no way of really measuring success. Just like John Stark, all he was trying to do was keep those people alive. And it grates on you. Like, it kind of wears you down after a while, because you don't know what you're working towards. Are we winning right now? Am I about to lose people? Is help coming? When is help coming? And all you can do is just keep on grinding away, putting in max effort you got. It looks like a ridge, like a hill up ahead. It's gonna suck.
Steve and I manage about a mile every 4 or 5 hours. We find that we make our best time in the mornings. It's cold, below freezing, which makes it easier to move on the crusted snow. Plus, you don't want to be sitting around camp anyways. By afternoon, the temperature gets to around 50, which feels pretty good on your skin. But it turns the snow to slush, makes every step an unstable gamble, especially when carrying weight. This is the time of day to rest and refuel.
Oh, man. Steve, I'm dying, man.
You know what you need?
What's up? What you got?
You need the goo.
Goo? What's this?
This stuff's legit.
Huh? Energy gel? It's thick. Oh,
Alien snot.
that's what. I don't know, what would you call it? I didn't think.
Dude,
it was
it's
thick.
called goo for a reason.
It's definitely goo.
Look at this stuff.
Oh,
Travis, not all of us get grape MRE electrolytes. Okay, some of us have to eat goo around here. Okay,
you got to do the goo.
some of us don't have the luxury of enjoying an MRE.
Day 2's in the books. How we feeling, Steve?
Feeling good.
How them legs feeling?
Definitely shot.
What you making, Steve?
I'm gonna make yellow curry.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know if John Stark had yellow curry, but I have yellow curry. And it's gonna hit right. Then I'm gonna go to bed because I'm exhausted.
So we're back at camp now, and I'm checking my feet, and it already doesn't look good.
Yeah. Let's see what the damage is here. I taped up my heel because this morning it was already getting raw. And that tape held for a little bit. Let's see what this toe looks like. Yeah, a little opened, I guess. Well, take care of your feet, kids.
How we feeling, Steve?
Oh, rough. But last day, final day. So it's been a good time.
Yeah.
Challenging but fun.
How the legs feeling?
Oh, smoked, sore. But I mean, my whole body feels that way. So I mean, it is what it is.
Steve was smart. He wore sunglasses and I didn't. And the snow is starting to kind of take an effect. I don't know if you can see my eyes. They're starting to get like bloodshot. And I can definitely feel they're gritty. And if you read Donner Party accounts, multiple people talk about snow blindness and how it basically forced people to stay put. Fortunately, the eyes heal pretty quick. Steve, what you think right now, man?
I think that it's absolutely wild that he did this. That he moved this amount of weight, and not just sandbags, but real people, in snow like this. Now that we're doing it, it's a pretty incredible thing that he achieved.
After days of shuttling survivors down the valley, Stark finally receives help. Eddie and Foster's party are back from the lake camp. Both men's children and Eddie's wife are dead. But their manpower, as well as additional men coming from the base camp, means that Stark is no longer alone. He has kept the survivors alive and safe. His mission of mercy is complete.
End of the road. Any words on the experience?
Made it.
Made it.
Made it. How you feeling?
I think that, I don't know how the quote went, but that quote about if my back was wider, if I had a bigger back, I'd carry them all. It's totally true. You could only carry so many of these at a time.
Yeah.
And that's what got me, is the multiple trips. You know, to go 100 yards is so much farther than that.
I fell into a system. I'd have the 2 9-year-olds, because they kind of balance each other out, and then the Johns, heavy John and then lighter John, and then my rucksack with the 3 littlest, so the 3-year-old and the 2 1-year-olds, and then the last 2, which would be Mary and Jonathan. No, not Jonathan. Mary and James. There we go. The 7 and 5-year-old. And you just do that. You got to kind of take care of yourself along the way. You know, like every day we've been doing this, man, I get more and more tired, more and more beat up. So you just got to pace yourself and just stick with it. To commemorate us completing the John Stark Challenge, I figured, what's the most North California way to celebrate that? And what I came up with, a couple of Northern California IPAs.
Yeah, pack these in, huh?
Hell yeah.
All right.
Careful opening it, because it's been in a rucksack.
Yeah, I'm feeling. Woo!
Oh. Oh, it hits real good. Cheers.
Cheers.
When the Navy officer in charge of the relief effort tells Margaret Breen she could thank him for saving her children,
that was a
she
good
replies,
surprise.
"Thank you. I thank
Oh, that
nobody
hits
but
real
God
nice.
and Stark and the Virgin Mary."
Hey, what a way to celebrate the first ever, well, second ever John Stark Challenge. Because I guess you got to count the OG, right?
Hey, I'll give it to anyone that wants to come out here and try this. Good luck. It's probably gonna be one of the most difficult things you do.
Dude, Peter literally just died. And you can see how wet that sand is. Fortunately for Peter, I brought a first aid kit.
Not everyone who is rescued survives. Jonathan and Elizabeth Graves are too far gone. Elizabeth passes away shortly after reaching safety at Fort Sutter, and Jonathan soon follows. John Stark was eventually elected Napa County Sheriff, then represented that county in the state legislature. Stark died in 1875 and was buried in Napa County, which leads to one final question I did not anticipate. This is the Middletown Cemetery where John Stark is buried. You can learn a lot from cemeteries. One of the things that strikes me about this one is how many immigrants are here. One of the landmarks that the cemetery employees use to gauge where people are buried are these angels. And they belong to a fella from Italy. And even his friend was from New York. Over on the hill above me is where Chinese immigrants were buried. Unfortunately, over the years, people took their headstones because they thought they were cool. A lot of people come to California to make a new start, and I'll show you a story here that the employees told me about. Right here, Philip Maxwell, a Civil War veteran, and right next to him, the employees have identified a grave belonging to
a Confederate veteran. So here in Middletown Cemetery, you still have Civil War veterans who fought on opposite sides buried next to each other. Now, what we don't have is John Stark's headstone. Over the years, certain headstones have disappeared. The records for where people are buried are kind of spotty. Some people were moved from a different site in Middletown and were reinterred here. And it's unknown if Stark was one of those burials. There are Starks buried here. John Stark is recorded as being buried here, but we don't have his headstone. Find a grave indicates that this stone belongs to a Joanna Stark, possibly a John Stark relative. However, this is what's called a toe stone, belonging to this fella, John Schwartz. So that ain't John Stark either. Even though we don't have John Stark's headstone, I think looking at how he lived his life and what he did is more important. This whole experience has really reinforced two lessons to me. Number one, be prepared. That means physically prepared. Dedicate a little bit of time every day to physically bettering yourself. Work on your range of motion, your cardio capacity, your strength, because you never know when you're going to need it. And along with being physically prepared, you need to be fiscally prepared. Have a little nest egg saved up. Have a little something ready for when you need it, because you never know when that's going to happen. And the second thing I learned is when you've decided to do something, go all in. Don't hold back. Go 100%, all your strength. If you succeed, then you know you had it in you. And if you fail, you know you gave it everything you had.